Hey, in anime here, and A Story No One Knows is the title of episode 9 of Wonder Egg Priority, and it's an appropriate title because I feel like I have no idea what is going on. This episode packed in a lot of information concerning Neiru and her past, the morality of assisted killing, and may have revealed the Acca's as villains. So, if you're ready, pull up a chair and let's discuss.
Their power is overwhelmed and destroyed. The world's most shocking monster.
Episode 9 of WEP took a side road from fantastical to sci-fi. Neiru decides to invite Momo, Rika, and Ai to stay over, and while touring her business office, we learn a bit about Neiru. We learn that she is the product of artificial insemination, and she is part of the Japanese chapter of Platy, which is an organization that only those with a very high IQ can join. So I see like an organization similar to Mensa. This would explain why Neiru takes a more realistic and logical perspective on issues. Now, the girls are being toured by Neiru's secretary, and she gives them a preview of technology that allows her to record Neiru's dreams, meaning her discussions, battles, and goings-on within the Wonder World. The secretary hints that the technology is still in early stages because they are working on colorization of the dreams and making them clearer. Here is where my discussion will get a little convoluted, and I'll try to keep it as clear as possible. We are eventually introduced to Kotobuki, a female albino scientist who is also a member of Platy and was doing research on death. She is in a vegetative state, and Neiru eventually reveals to the girls that she plans on pulling the plug, so to speak. This is where we get into a moral situation because Rika and Momo refuse to witness or even be a part of what Neiru feels she has to do. Rika explains that Kotobuki looks like she is just lying there sleeping, and Momo says that killing a person is much different than killing a see-no evil or a hater. The counter argument by Neiru is that Kotobuki is already dead and this body is just a container. This is the dilemma that people in this situation face. Technically, the body is there and living off of tubes and machinery, but without their mind functioning, without emotion, are they really alive? According to Neiru, the answer would be no, but to the other girls, the answer is yes. This is why they really don't want Neiru to do this, because they also see that there is trauma and baggage that could come along with quote-unquote killing somebody in this situation. I might be thinking too hard here, but in a lot of places, this is known as assisted suicide. And considering at the end of the episode that Neiru and Ai both pressed the button to shut down the machine, they are part of her suicide, which may have repercussions later on. I say this because we finally see that the Accas really are more devious than we have already assumed. Now let's get back to Kotobuki really quick. Kotobuki lives within the Wonder Egg world. I'm not sure if many people caught this, but Neiru didn't grow up knowing Kotobuki. She met her within the dream world, and this is where I start having to come up with theories because the Acca brothers are like chess players, or more appropriately, Go players, and are moving the girls along towards some ultimate objective. Kotobuki explains to Neiru the idea about the temptation of death, which is something known as innocent sorrow. Apparently, Kotobuki was tempted enough that she went beyond the limits of her research and instead of coming back to the real world, stayed in the afterlife. Again, this is directly speaking to the fact that people in a vegetative state may be dead in our world, but they are living within another realm because Kotobuki says she discovered parallel worlds. Now we come to my theory. Kotobuki and the other Wonder Girls had been specifically planted into the dream world by the Acca brothers to lead Momo, Ai, Rika, and Neiru to some sort of understanding about suicide or death. I really can't put my finger on what they are trying to accomplish, but they are intentionally not being straightforward about it. Look at the conversation they have with the secretary at the end of the episode. For one, we learn that the Accas have communication and association with people in the real world other than our heroines. Also, they are directly involved with Platy, and my theory is that they have the technology to manipulate or control the Wonder Egg girls within the dream world. Let me explain. When they are talking to the secretary, she tells them how Neiru is getting closer to the truth behind the temptation of death. And the Acca brother makes the interesting comment that the secretary managed to deflect her with an excuse. When? The secretary was never in the dream world or talking to Neiru. So my theory is that Kotobuki was specifically manipulated within the dream world to talk about innocent sorrow and the temptation of death by the secretary. Also, The Acca brothers discuss how Kotobuki's body will be picked up in the morning, and one asks the other if he still had plans for the body first, considering he was the one that created that egg. It seems to me that they want to prevent the body from being collected by scientists because they want to prevent any kind of discoveries that might be made from her body, like the nature of death and whatnot. Going along with my manipulation theory, I feel like they used the Wonder Egg version of Kotobuki to really talk or possibly trick Neiru into pulling the plug or killing the real world body in order to ensure that no scientist or government could have a live specimen to work with. It's also revealed that the root cause of the girls' suicides in general is the Acca brothers themselves. The secretary comments that if the girls found this out, that they would fight the brothers because they understand girls' sorrows. Now, one thing I do have to point out is that it was awfully convenient that Momo and Rika happened to be in the garden to overhear this conversation. I'm guessing this is going to be used as a device for them to be able to tell Neiru and I what they heard. They'll confront the Acca brothers, and then a battle is going to ensue, or they'll decide to reveal their master plan. Who knows? Regardless, a lot happens in this episode, and yet there's still so much more to tell. We don't know anything more about Neiru's sister. Is she a blood sister, or was she also a product of the artificial insemination? We still don't know why she stabbed Neiru. We also need more backstory on Momo, because we still know so little about her. And then we also get that little tidbit information that I suspects that Koito's crush was Mr. Sawaki. So we still need more information on that too. Well, if you think any of my interpretations were off in any way, or if I misunderstood something, please let me know in the comments below. I want that to be a place where we can discuss our theories and help each other out. Also, I'd very much appreciate if you like and subscribe. Well, I'm an anime, and I'm out. Anime.